Night, everybody. It's pretty late in the night, so I don't want to disturb my neighbors or disturb anybody, so I'm going to be talking real quiet. Nahum chapter 1, verse 2 says, God is jealous, and the Lord revenges. The Lord revenges and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his enemies, and he will reserve wrath for his enemies. He's slow to anger and great in power, and will not all acquit the wicked, because he's laid his way in a whirlwind and in a storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. Pretty much, it's just about justice. Shout out to all the people right now in the chat section. Shout out to you guys. It's pretty late in the night, so I don't want to spend too much of your time. We're just going to discuss, as you can see below, the deep sea scene with Steppenwolf. It's not going to really be a discussion on the scene. It's really going to be a pretty superficial discussion compared to the other discussions we've had. But nonetheless, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. And if you've been paying attention to what's going on, the release the Snyder cut movement is really picking up steam, and you should be seeing a lot of deleted scenes from the Justice League movie, and sometimes just little deleted moments as well. But it's very interesting, and so I'm just gonna spend a little time on this. It's going to be a little bit more superficial compared to the other things, but I said I'll put up a video before you guys, before I move on. So this is my video before we go to sleep in the night, and you guys can bring up anything else you want to bring up with the DCEU. Of course, when it comes to the new upcoming movies, I'm not really into that, so I haven't been following those. If you guys want to talk about it still, that's okay, but I probably won't be the most knowledgeable person on that. So first of all, let me see what's going on in the chat section. Goat Films, what's up, my brother? I see you have the old Batman icon there. That's pretty cool. The very first Batman, the Golden Age Batman. And Marcel Music, what's up, man? Shout out to both of you. You guys are up late, man. You guys, that's interesting. Don't forget to like this video. Let's get into it. It's midday for you? What part of the world are you in? Dang, it's midnight for me. It's 12:42 a.m. I slept early on this afternoon though, and I was trying to just hydrate because in the night I had to drink a lot of water, so that's why I'm still up. Let's see what's going on with you guys, man. So what I want to do here is just show you. This is more superficial. This is more of a superficial video because some people were saying certain things on Twitter, and I was just kind of following up with that. So, that's what's up. Okay, let me get to what we're going to talk about. It's not going to be anything deep, so don't expect anything deep here. Okay, here we go. Screen share and pop. There you go. Okay, so what we're going to discuss, like I said, is the deep water scene. And I want to show you guys something. Now, I'm not always a negative person with respect to the Justice League movie, but I want to show you something. And again, I'm highlighting this. I don't know if I ever, yes, in the last session we had, I highlighted this, and it's because John King brought up that question. So I want to show you guys what they did, and there's positive and negatives to what they did with the Justice League movie compared to what it was before that. Now, even before the movie came out, the looks that we saw were in development. That is to say, they were constantly changing still. They were tweaking these things all the time. So it was a work in progress. Nonetheless, I want to show you something. So here is the sneak peek of Justice League. This was the pinnacle. In fact, this is the trailer that got the most views for Justice League, about 40 million views, okay? And this was the best trailer the Justice League had. And this was in the sneak peek. You see this shot here, which is replicated over here down below in the actual movie. Now, what I want to show you guys is this. There's a couple of things I want to show you, but let me make sure this is nice and sharp. Okay, that's good. Let me zoom back out. All right, that's good enough. Okay, so this is the sneak peek here. Now, if you look at the sneak peek, the quality, I mean, there's a difference. Okay, this is just HD, so this is 180p. Whereas this below here is 2016p, okay, or what we call 4K. was the 4K equivalent, the UHD. I don't know if you guys understand what that means. That means ultra high definition versus high definition. Okay. But nonetheless, the important thing here is that this is a darker render. The sneak peek had a darker render and was much more blue based than the the actual movie, which was lighter, as you can see, lighter colors, and also there was a tinge of other color gradings added. So there was some pinks added to it. Now, what the pink did was actually add more definition to what you were looking at. So it was not only lighter, but also you could see more stuff. So you could see the fish here. And then I just pointed out there was a parademon actually in this shot, but you wouldn't see it in this shot up above here. Now, maybe the parademon was added to the shot, but you can see the two fish there. But again, this shot looks a little bit more murky. It's not as clear. So there were some advantages to what they did when they tweaked the movie. Obviously, they wanted to brighten it. And I was trying to share with you guys something that if you look at Zack Snyder's stuff, his stuff is darker, okay, and he has less pink colors, pink overtones. There's pink in this thing here, but the pink overtones were actually enriched with blue. So he had more of a blue base for this color grading. I don't know how he pulled it off, but he had that. And whereas here, the blues were balanced out with the pinks. So you can see this is kind of pink, and there's much more of a pink color base, which brings about more sort of less blue color. So the lighting in the background here is more like white light, which is supposed to be. And Aquaman is kind of much more well defined. You can see him much more clearly, and therefore we were able to see the parademon because they kind of lightened up everything. So you could actually see more of what you were looking at. So there was advantages and disadvantages to lightening up everything, you see. Now, having said all of that, I pointed this out for a specific reason. So I want to show you guys some more about what I'm talking about. Okay. Hold on a second. There you go. So if we looked at the first official trailer of Justice League, which was trailer 1, you would see Mira in it for a brief, about fraction of a second, right after Aquaman. She swims up about 2 seconds maybe, and you see her with the Atlantean soldiers in the background. This is what it looked like. This was, again, a render that was led by Zack Snyder. Again, there are pinks in this render. There's actually pinks in this render. Okay, up a little bit. There you go. But once again, it's not prominent. So how you color grade it, so you can see the pink right there. Okay, there is pinks in this render, but how Zack Snyder color graded it allowed for the blue overtones to be seen more than any other color, even though this is green and stuff. Now, when they sort of adjusted the balance of the color palettes and the color grading, sorry, and you had different colors, now you could actually see Mira much more clearly, or here, even her armor is actually seen much more. And so you had a much more balance. So I actually liked what they did in Justice League concerning that, where they adjusted it. Now, almost everything that you saw in the undersea scene was 100% Zack Snyder, I believe. Maybe the moment when Mira was talking to Aquaman was a Joss Whedon moment. That's possible because the definition wasn't that great. It could have been a Zack Snyder moment. Who knows? But what I can tell you is almost 100% everything that was shot was mostly, I believe, Zack. Now, having said that Zack probably shot most of the undersea event. They didn't show us all of the undersea event, and we clearly see that now. We've seen a number of deleted scenes and clips where, you know, a lot of other things were going on there. And then there's evidence for parademons were actually underneath there. And we saw that, and I'll show you. You first of all saw it before in this scene here, where there was a parademon there. But there's also another scene here. This is the deleted footage that I saw. And actually, I posted it up on social media. I saw it on Twitter, and I actually got to the Vero, I can't remember what it's called, Vimeo, the Vimeo account of the animator who actually did this scene. So this is Steppenwolf here. This is at 720p. Again, the bottom scene that you see is usually a better resolution. So that's the only thing you're seeing here. So this is 72p. This is 4K. Okay, and so almost all of these are 4K, and all this is like 180p. This is like 180p, and this is like 4K. So that's why this is actually also cleaner. It's because it has better resolution. So that had nothing to do with the actual film and its rendering and stuff. Nonetheless, again, this is darker and this is lighter. Okay, and again, this is darker and this is lighter. So I believe Zack Snyder did this, the deleted footage, because somebody was debating that it was Whedon that did that, and I was like, no, because a lot of people are under the illusion that Steppenwolf and the design of Steppenwolf was influenced by Warner Brothers and Whedon, and a compromise to the original Steppenwolf, they think, which was the original design. But I don't think so. I think the original design, yes, they were going for a kind of monstrous look, and then they kind of went more humanoid, because Steppenwolf in the comic books is more humanoid, right? And I think this render actually is what Zack Snyder and company came to the conclusion of having, and that's why we saw it in the sneak peek. We basically started seeing Steppenwolf in the sneak peek. Now, some people say, well, the sneak peek was like, you know, July the 22nd, which was 2 months after Zack Snyder left on May 22nd. So they gave Whedon a chance to do that render. And I say, no, you had to do a lot of work to get a render like that. And so I don't believe that Whedon did the render, but here's the thing I think Whedon did. I think Whedon actually did do a dub over of the render when Steppenwolf landed in Themyscira, which is why the mouth of Steppenwolf looks so weird in that scene. Something Whedon did in there. So Whedon did some sort of dialogue with Steppenwolf. That's why his mouth looks so weird, because Zack had a lot of time. And if you look at that render, that just that one moment, not the yes part when Steppenwolf is chasing down the Amazon, none of that. It's just that moment when he's talking about Mother, and that conversation he had with Mother, which was feeling kind of awkward. I think Whedon had something to do with that, which is why Steppenwolf's mouth looked so weird. And after that, he looked pretty normal for most of the thing until he was again pushing the mother box into this slab. And again, his mouth looked weird. And I don't think that was Snyder that did that. I think Snyder had a different cut for that. And when we look at the trailers and we look at Steppenwolf, you know, going to the mother boxes and stuff, look much more grander and everything. So I think Whedon did some dialogue for Steppenwolf. And obviously in the third act, he had a lot to do with Steppenwolf and his render and how things went down, for sure. And even trying to actually kind of take away from Steppenwolf's render, which just looked horrible. But anyway, that's besides the point. The point is that I think Zack Snyder, for the most part, did Steppenwolf and his design. What we saw in the tunnel pretty much was mostly, again, Zack Snyder, except for the part where Cyborg says to Steppenwolf, says, an agent of chaos. I'm not too sure if that is Zack Snyder who said that part, or if it was Whedon again adding in parts of Steppenwolf. Maybe it was Snyder, but it could have been Whedon, because it kind of felt out of place for a minute. And again, anytime something feels off, I always attribute it to Joss Whedon, because Joss Whedon is trying to emulate what Zack Snyder was doing. And we learned a number of things. We learned that the rooftop scene, for instance, with Batman and the robber that was on the rooftop scene, we later learned that Whedon did reshoot that scene, but there was actually a scene in the rooftop scene where Zack Snyder had already filmed that. So it's really amazing that, you know, Whedon pretty much did nothing new for this movie except probably introduce the Russian family. He reshot almost everything that Zack Snyder had already shot, and it was that Warner Brothers was trying to cut down the runtime of the movie, and they just didn't want to go the way Zack Snyder was going with the movie. Even the order of the movie was changed up a bit, and this just comes to light to let you guys know why we're pushing for the Snyder cut. Again, like I said, what I saw of Justice League, the movie, I really enjoyed. But now, after seeing all of this information and all this stuff, I'm beginning to resent just thinking about that particular cut, because as the truth comes out and as we get more and more information, and the other thing I want to say, like I said probably a couple of days ago, was that if, for example, Warner Brothers does not release the Snyder Cut, I can guarantee you this: the Snyder Cut will be released. There's just, you know, this whole entire week, deleted footage was just pouring out, okay, and coming into social media, and it's being leaked like crazy. And I just believe, and what Warner Bros. Has been trying to do is shut up all the effects companies that have actually had this stuff. Some of this stuff was 4 months ago. It was put out. You know, the effects companies just trying to, you know, advertise themselves. And Warner Bros. Has been shutting down these videos one by one when it's put up on Twitter and stuff. And it's very interesting because, to me, the fact that, you know, because Warner Bros.'s official stance was there's not a cut. Zack Snyder doesn't have a cut. Okay, that was their official stance, and now they kind of trying to clamp down, double down on that. And it's not that he didn't have an official cut. He had a cut, obviously. Now we know this, and I was one of the people saying he didn't have a finished cut. Well, now I have to backtrack even more and say yes, he had an almost completed cut. This is now more than just ever fact. And some people say the soundtrack wasn't quite there. Well, no, that's not true either, because we saw in the deleted footage of Superman on the ship, we saw that we already had you know, sound material for that. We saw him when he was coming to meet Alfred. We had sound material for that. We saw the scene with him and Lewis in the trailers, and we had material for that. So it wasn't that they didn't have the soundtrack. It's apparently, like one person was saying on YouTube a while ago, they actually had done some sound dubbing and everything, and they had completed almost the entire film. And when we say they needed reshoots, that's what they actually needed. Small amounts of reshoots for the film, because Warner Bros. Probably asked them to do so. And they needed also, and probably to tie in Wonder Woman, who knows. And then they also needed to complete some of the post-production work, which, by the way, as the film stands, that post-production work, you know, based on the footage we saw of the film, that post-production work was additional footage that Zack Snyder had shot for the film, meaning that the film it definitely is a longer film. And so it's for scenes that we haven't even seen in the film that were not finished in post, okay, at the time. So in other words, Zack Snyder was almost done with the movie. And post-production would cost you some money, but still at the same time. But apparently Warner Bros. Wanted to go a completely different direction with their movies, trying to marvelize the universe. And they literally chopped out significant portions of the movie. Like I've been saying to you guys, and I can list them now. There was this beautiful emotional moment with Victor Stone and his mother that was just chopped from the movie. And again, these are add value to the movie. You know, we already know about the Superman scene with the suit and with Alfred. These were emotional moments. Then we had Clark and Lewis moment, which was chopped to goddamn shreds, and it doesn't carry the emotional weight anymore. We have the chopped out scene, and literally I saw pieces of this scene of Martha with Lois Lane, and the emotional weight of those moments, and it has been chopped up. Whedon kind of cheapened up the moments, literally did, compared to what we saw. You know, it's just amazing once you start to see the Snyder Cut, and it's pretty much being put out there. So that's why I said, if Warner Brothers took charge of that and actually released the Snyder Cut, they actually do better damage control, because by them releasing the Snyder Cut, they have the control of it. Plus, they monetize that, right? But the way how things are going, if people get the Snyder Cut from sources other than Warner Brothers, I can guarantee you Aquaman will suffer miserably, and all the other DCU films succeeding, because what it says is the message Warner Brothers is sending is they're not going to change the direction they're going in, and they don't care what the fans think. They're going in the direction they're going in. That's what the message they're sending to fans. And they didn't care that they lied to fans about the Justice League cut and that they weren't going to tamper with it, and Zack's tone of the film and his vision, which Tommy Emmerich said. No, what they basically are saying is, we didn't care about you, and we don't care about you. Because that's the statement they made with Suicide Squad when they gave this false advertising, and then they did not play through the Joker. And we learned that they cut out immense Joker scenes from the film And as much as I was an apologist saying, we have to focus on the squad, etc., I've learned since that point in time that David Ayer even talked about the cutout Joker scenes. And I literally saw him on Twitter saying that. And so it really gets me now, because you see, you can't defend and apologize when a director is directly saying, yes, they cut out this scene. Yes, Warner Brothers cut out this scene and cut out that scene. And this is the sort of stuff, Joker actually slapped Harley Quinn, and we saw that in the behind the scenes footage, and it was actually supposed to be more. And the extended cut that they gave of, for instance, Suicide Squad does not do justice to the film. In fact, the extended cut cheapened up the film some. And so what we wanted to see was David Ayer's vision for the film, and what we got instead was a committee-led version of Suicide Squad. So since they have this precedent of lying to us, okay, they have lied to us so many times, and now they come with Justice League and they lied to us about that, and they're still lying to us and trying to maintain a lie that there's not a finished cut of Justice League, and they don't make any statements or comments about it, and they don't care. They're trying to push it to the side and saying these are the new slate of films. They're going to get a huge backlash on that, and it's already happening. Like I said, it's already happening on social media, and you know what? I can't blame the people for backlashing them, because why should we trust you? You are hell-bent on going in the direction you're going in, Warner Brothers, and you do not care about your fans, the people who literally pay money for you. So whatever happens to you in the future, we're not responsible for what happens, okay? And I'm not interested in a future with a company which is hell-bent on going a certain direction, which is not a direction I particularly appreciate. So why would I support a company who is doing something that I don't appreciate? I won't support a company doing that. I would go and find something else that I appreciate. And so I am not going to blame the fans. I will say, though, the fans who are trying to discourage other people from going to see Justice League, you should never cross that line. But absolutely, it's within your rights and freedoms to say, I am not supporting this, and I am not going to support this. And on top of that, not only do I need the release of the Snyder Cut, but I also need to know that the future directors of Warner Brothers, that Warner Brothers hires, these future directors are not being compromised either, because this is a pattern now. This is a tried and true pattern that Warner Brothers is using. And all of these people don't know anything about comic book movies who are making these decisions. Tommy Emmerich himself even confessed that he does not know about comic book movies. That's not his thing. Mr. Tsuchihara, he knows nothing about comic book movies. That is not his thing. These are people who don't know anything about comic book movies. Therefore, they have a big disconnect between comic book movies and the fans, and what the fans like about comic book movies. They have a total disconnect to that. And then on top of that, these are the people who are trying to instigate changes for these films, and they're the ones that you have to come and convince, which Zack Snyder had to do with Man of Steel. Then he had to go and do it again with BVS. He had to convince these people who know nothing about these films, okay, not to go in a direction that would hurt, because this is something based on comic books. And so apparently they just don't get it, okay? So we as fans, we're going to get the Snyder Cut whether Warner Brothers approves it or not. We're going to get the Snyder Cut. We're going to be able to find all those missing pieces, and we'll just patch it back together as a film. That's all we have to do. We're not going to try and add any special effects or anything. We're just going to patch it back together as a film, and we'll have it for free, and we'll be fine. And we don't have to pay a dime to Warner Brothers to see that stuff. So either way, and on top of that, what's going to hurt them even more is the fact that, and they can't clamp down on this. They can't. They will try, but they will fail. And on top of that, they have to understand something else, that because they have behaved this way, trying to strong arm the fans, trying to insult the fans, trying to make the fans look like they are alienated, that they are wrong, that they are rabid fans, that they are bad people, that they are negative people, because they tried to attack us, why should we ever support a company that is trying to vilify the fans for wanting a better film, huh? So since they're trying to vilify us and the movement and the Snyder Cut movement and say we're counterproductive, etc., since they're trying to vilify us, we can't support you because you're against us. And we're not going to support a company and give money to a company that is not, they don't respect our interests. They don't want to listen to us. And on top of that, they don't want to change their attitude and the direction in which they're going. So everything they're doing is counterproductive to us and our interests. Why would I even be interested in anything you have to offer if, one, you vilify me when I try to raise an issue, two, you are trying to tell me that I must accept what you give me, and I don't, that's not my thing. That's not my thing. Why would I accept that? Why would I put money to that thing? And then three, on top of that, you want to tell me that you owe me nothing. Of course you owe me nothing, but so do I. I don't owe you anything. I don't have to put my money to your movies, okay? And since that's your attitude, it's pompous, high-handed attitude, and you feel that you will have your fans to support your movies, go ahead. Just remember, when you screw up, guess what? When you screw up, that you only have a limited amount of opportunities. And when you violate the trust of the fans, when you violate the trust, our trust, don't expect to get it back. You have to earn that, and you're not going to earn it overnight. It'll take you years. So if you want to shut down the DCEU, Warner Brothers, for decades, because you see, you forgot. You clean forgot. See, you rode on Zack Snyder. You thought it was so easy to make a DC universe. You thought it was a real easy deal. You thought what Zack did was just so easy. You don't understand how difficult it was. You forgot how many times you failed to get a DCEU universe. You forgot all of that. And now you think you have Jeff Johns and you can just make that DCEU universe. You don't understand. You don't understand. And you listen to the wrong people, because those people weren't putting their money to you. Some of them were, but they were salty. They weren't putting their money 10, 11 times. They weren't watching your movie 6 times and 10 times and 8 times and 5 times. And they wanted first to buy your DVDs and Blu-rays. You picked the wrong people, Warner Brothers. And that's on you. And you really feel you're going to replace us with Marvel fans? Well, go right ahead. You just don't understand. You don't understand that Disney is right now, they just finally acquired Fox properties, I think it is, and they're shutting down certain Fox properties already. Okay? And then when we look at how Disney treated James Gunn, we realize Disney does not care about directors. They're going to do their Marvel formula, as they call it. They're proud to talk about films by committee. They are proud to compromise their directors. That's the direction you want to go, Warner Brothers. And you're going to be surprised how many people follow you. You're going to find out that real quick. You think you can emulate what Disney did? It ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. And Disney's going to be in trouble very soon. So just now, we won't have comic book movies. You're going to make sure that the end of the comic book movie era happens. Thanks to you, we won't have comic book movies very soon. And you can laugh how much you want. You're going to learn very soon that we are 100% right. Because you, Warner Brothers, don't know when you have a good thing how to leave it alone. You had the goose that lays the golden egg, and you decided to kill it because you wanted the gold. But you kill a goose, it can't lay no more eggs. But you have the goose that laid the golden egg. So anyway, I just wanted to show these things to you guys. Here is a scene again from Justice League where we have, this is the movie itself. And again, we see the parademons here. This is Miro, and she parts the water. All of this is Zack Snyder stuff. There's a Atlantean guard. So here's the thing that's out of place. The parademon. How did a parademon get there? Nobody knows. Because they chopped up this scene. I'm not saying that it wasn't coherent with the movie, but they chopped stuff out of the movie like crazy, man. They chopped up this movie to hell. And that's what's wrong. It's just morally and ethically wrong, man. Wow, a lot of you guys are up. That is crazy. Um, Go Film says, sup. Marshall Music, what's up? Go Film says, is Man of Steel still a relevant movie? Um, Relevant to our times? Well, I mean, there's a certain degree of relevance to it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how do we still treat strangers? How do we treat people who are not like us? We still behave the same way, right? Coughlin says, I'd be generally surprised if Aquaman isn't panned by Marvel fans and critics. I mean, yeah, I mean, Aquaman is in danger right now. People don't realize that, but I can see the game ahead of, I can see ahead of the game. And Aquaman is in danger of being seriously under supported because I already see what's happening on Twitter. I'm listening to the ground, and there's a lot of people who are genuinely discouraged by what Warner Brothers did concerning Justice League, and they seem to be seeing the same trends themselves. And they're not even interested in Aquaman right now. They're just interested in the Snyder Cut. So there's a lot of people like that. W. Mir says, damn shame we didn't get the Snyder Cut in theaters. Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. Now I'm beginning to see what you see, man. I'm beginning to see what you see. You know, let me just cut my face for a minute. Yeah. Goat says, what's up, W. Mir? And he's like, sup, Goat Films. W. Mir says, Snyder Cut is like pie. Lady, ma'am. Okay. Now we want some pie. Okay, we hungry. Okay. W. Mir says they leaked the Lego Steppenwolf late April, early May before Zach left. There you go. There you go. So there it is right there. There it is right there. Go Film says Steppenwolf should have been more colorful. Oh, I don't think they were going for that though. I don't think Zach was going for that. I think that was the Steppenwolf he envisioned, and that was what it was going to be. By the way, let me just say the look that was in Justice League for Steppenwolf was pretty good. It was pretty clean. All right. And they really just tweaked the color palette. They tweaked the color grading a bit, and it looked good. It looked all right. I'm not mad at what they did in Justice League. That wasn't the part that really let the film down. In my opinion, the part that let the film down was the third act. I don't know what the heck what kind of Steppenwolf that looked like. He had glowing eyes, yeah, but he looked like crap. Okay, he looked crappy, man. He looked like a CGI character. Again, it looked very clunky. It looked like puppets fighting one another. Wonder Woman and Aquaman looked real clunky, and even when when Wonder Woman broke the passageway surface and Cyborg and Steppenwolf fell through, they looked like puppets on a string. I don't know what the heck they were trying to do there, but it looked terrible. And again, Aquaman reminds me of that. And I'm telling you once again, when it comes to Marvel films, their characters, Spider-Man looked real puppety and just super animated, and the Hulk looked like an animated looking thing, and it tells me they were going a Marvel route, and it just backfired royally. Like Zack Snyder does action like nobody's business. You feel like it's a real thing happening. That shit was not happening in Justice League for the third act. I don't know what the heck that was. I don't know what that was. I didn't understand the color contrast either. I don't know where that purple stuff come from. I keep on talking about that all the time. But Jesus, man, that just terrible, man. Just that purple stuff really gets me, man. I don't like it. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like you know what it's like also? It's like that blobby looking thing in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I just hate it. I hate what they did. I don't understand why they did that. Zack Snyder's never done a design like that. Never, ever. When Superman was fighting the World Engine, it reminded me of the Matrix, how that stuff kind of moved like the Matrix and stuff. And everybody even talked about that was a video game. Well, what is that in Justice League? What the heck was that? You know what I mean? I'm just saying. They can either release the cut and get paid or have it leaked and people lose trust in them. Exactly. That's what's going to happen. And they have an ultimatum, but the Snyder Cut is going to come out, and it's coming out within the year. Within this, they have less than a year. They have less than a couple months to make up their minds what they're going to do with this Snyder Cut. And if they're going to go strong and say, oh, we're going to protect the films going forward, if we don't release the cut, they are going to pay for that royally. I guarantee you. Okay. But if they are wise, they would release the cut, and it would release they better move fast, because it's going to come out there, and then people are going to just think, we don't need Warner Brothers. We don't need them. Because the way how they treat Zach, and then the way how they are going about conducting themselves right now, is very nasty. It stinks, and everybody knows that. So, and I don't care if it's Walter Hamada or Tommy Emmerich that's different on the scene. They are moving the same way, as they have been moving all along. So at the end of the day, nobody's trusting them right now, and rightfully so. They've lost trust, and the people that were actually defending them are not defending them anymore, because they're seeing the hard, cold facts now. And every day that goes by that they don't address this issue, and the hard, cold facts keep on coming out. I heard some people say, oh, the Snyder Cut people, they're such a nag. When will this ever end? I listen to them, and I'm like laughing, because it's like, as they finish saying that, another fact drops down, another deleted scene. Oh boy. So, somebody's releasing that stuff online, and once they keep on doing that, it's gonna be go time. So if I was Warner Brothers, I'd release it, but they ain't gonna call the bluff. So bombs are gonna drop. I could guarantee you that. Go Film says, who's your favorite Batman actor? Who's my favorite Batman actor? I asked you guys that, but for me, it's now Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck is the standard. He passed Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton's a fantastic actor as Batman. If you had to tell me what was the number one Batman character that I've ever seen in live action, it would be Michael Keaton. But now it's Ben Affleck. W. Mir says Affleck and Keaton. There you go. Absolutely agree with you. TNJ Ayala says, what's up, homies? What's up, TNJ Ayala? It's good to see you, man. All you guys are up so late. Go Film says, Steppenwolf's design would be good, in my opinion, if there weren't so much gray villains in DC and Marvel movies. Gray villains? Silver villains, like you had Ultron. Ultron was kind of silverish. He was a machine. But I don't remember any other gray villains. I don't remember much gray villains. Steppenwolf's the first. And he's not really gray. If you look at his armor, it's kind of, I don't know, it's like a kind of greenish, sort of, I don't know what kind of material that thing is. It looks alien material. And his face is a strange kind of aged face. And his horn and his weaponry and his armor has these subtleties to it. So I don't see him as gray, actually. I don't see it. You see, you have to understand, with Zack Snyder, he's got color in there, but he's also got sort of a darkness. But besides that, the thing that makes Steppenwolf look so sick is his battle axe. And again, there's a lot of details behind Steppenwolf's battle axe and all of that stuff as well, that makes him highly interesting, and we didn't get that backstory, and we didn't even get his relationship with Darkseid. That you guys know that the some anti-life equation was actually involved in Justice League, and actually there was this big fight in the beginning of Justice League. There was this big opening fight in the beginning of Justice League, so there was a lot of stuff, man. Man, we're gonna see it. Don't worry, guys. We're gonna see it. Gofield says Zack Snyder is a cool guy. He has talent, but he's being mistreated right now. He's not just talented, man. That brother is on another level, man. He's on another level. W. Mir says, at this point, someone may break into Burbank. Now, nobody needs to break into Burbank. Nobody needs to break into Burbank. W. Mir, trust me on that. Nobody needs to break into Burbank. Oh, no. Go Film says, gray villains, Doomsday. Was Doomsday a gray villain? Let me have a look at Doomsday here. I don't think Doomsday was gray either. Doomsday. Batman v Superman. If I'm not mistaken, Doomsday is not gray. Yep, Doomsday is not gray. Doomsday. Okay, hold on a second. Doomsday got bone structures on him, so he's not gray. And he got all kinds of things going on with him. He's kind of, I don't know what you call this. He's kind of like a rhino. He's kind of like rhinos or elephants. Again, when you got organic tissue, you're going to look that way. But he's not the same color as Steppenwolf. But anyway, let me see what you were saying. Ares wasn't gray at all. Ares wasn't gray at all. Ares was a man. He was white. But he had on battle armor. And his battle armor was made of metal. Ares wasn't gray, though. Ares wasn't gray. Not at all. And he had armor. I don't know what kind of armor that is. And it's just metal put together. And therefore it's shone in different colors, different ways. So you see, he looks kind of goldenish, bronzes, brass. He had a collection of different metals he put together. So he's more metallic. So Ares was more metallic. Iron Man villain in the first Iron Man. He was wearing a metal outfit. Ronan wasn't gray. Come on, man. Come on, man. Ronan wasn't gray. Come on. Ronan was not gray. That's one corrector. He was blue. Ronan was blue, and he had like a black suit on with a sort of bluish hammer. Come on, man. Do I have to show you this stuff? Ronan's blue, man, not gray. Come on, dude. You need to know your colors, man. Ultron wasn't gray either. Ultron was silver. Come on, dude. W. Mirror. I was just kidding. Go Films. Is he green? Who? Oh, you talking about Steppenwolf? No, Steppenwolf isn't green. He's Steppenwolf. I don't know how to describe the colors, man. Steppenwolf, I ain't got this weird kind of material he wears. Steppenwolf, and again, it depends on the lighting. Steppenwolf has different, kind of like Ares. He depending on the lighting, he looks a certain way. Steppenwolf, man, you gotta, man, DC, man, they have some complexity to them. You gotta see. No, Steppenwolf isn't gray. I don't know what he is, because his headpiece is kind of greenish, but in a certain lighting, it looks kind of bronze or goldish, and his face looks a certain way. It depends on the lighting he's in. He looks one color or another. He's got like different blues. He got blues kind of coming off of him. His hands are white. He got reds on his color. His axe is silverish kind of color, but it glows at the end. It's kind of yellow or red or sometimes golden. You know, he has a kind of coat chain of mail that's kind of silverish, but yet his shield is kind of greenish, bluish, reddish. You know, have you been paying attention to Steppenwolf? He's alien-like. His face is white, but yet his two horns at the bottom are kind of like brownish, kind of, I don't know what color you call that thing. Have you paid attention to Steppenwolf, man? You know, this is the thing. DC really put some work into their characters. It's not straightforward characters. You know what I mean? If you've been paying attention, but I don't think you have been. No disrespect to you, but you haven't been paying attention, man. Steppenwolf is anything but gray, you know. And Doomsday, he's more flesh tone, so he looks more like a rhino. Rhinos have a kind of bluish, sort of, yeah, kind of bluish, grayish kind of color. But Steppenwolf particularly has a particular, let me show you what he looks like, because I need to show you. You need to see it so you can see what I'm talking about. Hold on a second. I'm going to get them all. Hold on a second. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right. You just had to look at Steppenwolf, man. He's all these subtleties to these movies, man. Let me show you Steppenwolf. Okay. Hold on a second. Let me pull up. I pull up Steppenwolf here. Let me go pull up. What's the other guys you said? You said Doomsday. I'll pull up Doomsday so you can see what Doomsday looked like. It's Doomsday here. Pull them up. It's Doomsday. I want you to see the difference because I think a lot of people, it's incredible. You call that guy gray. That's interesting. Even when you look at like Abomination ain't gray, you know. What you call up? Let me see what the different people you call up here. Ronan, you called up Ronan. Let me show you Ronan. Ronan was blue, dude. Ronan, his suit was black, but he was blue. Yeah, Ronan, Guardians of the Galaxy. Ronan's blue, dude. There's Ronan. He got black. He got black. Well, not even black. It's kind of like a darker blue running through him. Blue and red and stuff. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. Who's the other person you talked about here? Oh, the first Iron Man. Abomination. You called Abomination. Abomination ain't gray, dude. Jeez, man. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. Abomination. Hulk. Abomination here, man. He's not gray. Abomination's not gray. Oh my gosh. I gotta show you all these things, do I? It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Aries. Let me show you Aries. I'm gonna show you all of them. Hold on a second. Aries is a white man to start with, but that's besides the point. Let me go get something good with Aries here. Where I go. There you go. There's Aries. That's not showing you the subtlety of Aries, though. Let me see if I can find it. There you go. Oh, that's nice and clean. That's good right there. In fact, hold up. Aries is anything but gray, dude. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you. I gotta find a good, nice, good little clipping here. There you go. That'll do. Aries was anything but gray. And this is not even showing me it properly, but that's okay. All right, let me show you. I'm gonna show you everything. Ultron and the Iron Man villain. Okay, so how long? Let me get him. Doo-doo. Oh, come on. It's really sometimes annoying when I have to. Okay, there you go. All right. There you go. Wonderful. It's the last one you said. Ultron. Ultron silver. It's metallic. All right, so let me pull them up so you guys can see. I'm taking some time on this because I want to. So this is Steppenwolf, okay? As you can clearly see, his face is not gray. All right? Got a kind of white face. You can see that this coat of armor, he has a chain here. The chain is kind of made of a metallic color that's kind of bluish and kind of, it depends on how the light hits it. You can see he has this dark blue color here, but then you have all this red stuff from battle scars and battle damage. and his headpiece is mixed with blue and silver and red. Okay, so Steppenwolf is a very complex, you know, he's complex in what you're seeing. Okay, he's not gray. Okay, this is Doomsday. You can see how much different Doomsday is. Okay, Doomsday, if you look here, he has different shades of colors, but generally he has this like this dark, it's kind of like a rhino, in my opinion. And he's got these horns coming out of him. And so he looks very organic, right? He looks very organic. He's a beast. And he's not gray, but these colors are like earth tones sort of colors, you know? So he looks like an organic sort of beast. All right. He is different from Steppenwolf. Look at Steppenwolf. Look at Doomsday. They're different. Okay. Okay. And this is Ronin, my friend. This is Ronin. Ronin is blue. See, he's blue. Look at his skin. It's blue. Now he has the darker blues here, and his eye is blue, but he's blue. Okay. His suit is a dark kind of blue. It's not even black. It's a kind of dark kind of blue. And he's got red on his suit. Okay. He's not metallic. It's not really metallic looking like this guy. Okay. But this guy also has blues, but his face is not blue. If you were to see his body, his literal body, not his suit, his body, it would be white. He has white hands. He has a white face, but yet his face has these horn-like structures that come out of it, and it's kind of blackish. It looks like a beard, kind of like. But he's kind of medieval looking because he has medieval chainmail underneath his armor. Okay, all right, but still, pieces of his armor have red in it. Like he has red at the edge of his horns, and he has red at the edge of his hands, and he's red at the edge of his shoes and his feet, right? But he has a weird alien-like sort of armor. This is not the case with Ronan. Ronan's straightforward, right? But he still has blue, and you have some red there. Okay, but he's mostly blue. Okay, this is Abomination. Abomination is kind of a orangish sort of orangish creature. He's kind of orange brown creature. Okay, he's not gray. You know, men tend to be very colorblind. So women actually give me the exact color, what this color is. They actually have a name for that color. I can't tell you what the name is, okay? But for me, as a man, I can't really explain it except to say he looks more like if he has bone structures. And the bone is like, you know, when you have old bone, how it looks kind of brownish. Well, this is what Abomination looks like. He looks like he's bony structure, and he's kind of, you see all his bone protrusions. Even there's a lot of muscle, it's mostly like bone. Okay, that's what it reminds me of. His teeth are almost the same color as his body. So he's that. He's not Doomsday. See, Doomsday's completely different to Abomination. Can you see that? Can you see that? Okay, and the render is much better as well. All right, Ronin, Abomination, Doomsday, Steppenwolf. Can you see they're all different? Okay, there are some repeated themes, like they tried to be organic and earth tones. Well, at least for Steppenwolf, Doomsday, and Abomination, you try to get earth tones. But to say that they are gray, no, they're not. You know, this is Ares. Okay, this is when he's assembling the metals. Since he's in fire and stuff, you can see the metals look dark, but he's not dark. This is Ares again. How the light hits the metal gives it a different color all the time because it's kind of soldered together. So he's like a metallic thing. I don't know what the color is. I can't tell you because the lighting affects the color differently. So this is Ares again, and he's not in gray. He's in blue. Okay, he's in blue. I know this is kind of bleached out. The colors are bleached out, but he's in blue. You can tell that, right? In fact, if you actually go and watch the movie, it actually looks clearer than this and better than this. Okay. And this is Ares. He's a white man. Okay, he's white. Okay, look again. This is Ares here, and you can see his whiteness underneath there with his white beard and his white mustache. Okay, he's white. He's not gray. Okay, he's kind of like Steppenwolf in this case of, well, Steppenwolf was an old man as well, and he's kind of white. Okay, he's not earth tone. He's not blue. He's not bony structure color. Okay, all right. So can we just get that out of the way, please, folks? They're not all the same color. This is another white man, old white man. So there's a repeated motif there, but he's in a silver metallic looking suit. We haven't seen silver, right? Silver's not there. Now, what you can say is that all of them wore armor. So all of the villains wore armor. Well, no, not Doomsday. Doomsday didn't wear armor, and neither did Abomination. Okay, but otherwise they all wear armor. But they don't really have a lot in common as you think they do. They're not all gray. That's a misnomer. And then the final one is, of course, Ultron. And Ultron, again, he's more of a metallic structure, so he looks silverish. Okay, so you have again, metallic structure. So you find that Ultron and I forgot what his name is. This guy, all of them have armor. So this is metallic armor. This is armor again. This is silver. So we have the repeated motif here, these colors. But Ronan moves away from them. But what you notice is if you look at all of the Marvel villains, they have a straightforward kind of color palette or straightforward color grading. They actually have a straightforward color. So when you look here, this looks silver, right? When you look here, this looks, well, actually how the light hits off of him kind of gives you different shades of color, but this is, you can tell this is a straightforward metal. This doesn't feel like something alien, right? But here's where the subtlety comes in with these characters. Literally, this metal, the stuff that makes this guy what he is, looks alien. He feels alien. Even this animal here, though he's kind of earthly tones, feels alien, and that's cool. And Warner Bros. Was able, they're able to pull that off. And this, again, is a kind of complex looking thing because he put together the metals together. So there's all this intricate stuff and so on that makes it very interesting to me. These are all metals, of course, being put together, but different metals. So it's not as straightforward and clear cut as, say, a Marvel thing. See, this has some character, but it's still, you can feel like this is straightforward, can I say. You can tell this is just metal that's been put together. You can tell that this is a metallic thing. You can immediately identify that. You can identify that this guy, he's wearing a dark suit, and it's a suit. It's not necessarily metallic. It looks plastic, actually, right? The complexity of these characters is beyond us in terms of detail and so on. It's just very complex, and it's nice to see that, and feels kind of alien. This feels like a guy putting together a suit. You can feel all the put together pieces of the thing. Okay, Ares is inside that suit, and he's a white man, right? So I'm just saying, so that you know, when you say they're all gray, no, they're not all gray, dude. They're just not. It's just not true. I took time to just explain that. I hope you appreciate that. Okay. Is he green? I don't know what that is. Oh, Steppenwolf, right? I like DCEU villains, though. Lex is the best. Lex is the best so far. Goldfield says, I agree with W. Mirror. W. Mirror says, what's up, Goldfilms? Goldfield says, lol, Ronan wasn't gray, but blackish. No, he wasn't gray. He wasn't really black either. He was blue, as you could have seen. TNJ, maybe he was grayish because Zod's dead body was too. Nope. Nope, he just metamorphosized that way. It's a pity you guys didn't see the metamorphosis that was cut out of the BVS, but they actually had the whole storyboard and concept art for how he was metamorphosized. TNJL says kind of like Grundy. Right, there you go. He's kind of like Grundy, but Grundy's not gray either. But no, Doomsday is still not like Grundy because he has this, like I said, he's more like a rhino. Go and look at what a rhino or a hippo or maybe an elephant would look like. But then you have to have these green, like green, mossy green colors on it. if you go ahead and take a look at Doomsday and compare him to those kind of animals. He's organic thing. So when you're talking organics, they want to keep it kind of earthy and grounded, even though it's an alien organic. Go Films. I meant is Doomsday green, but I looked it up and he's not. He's not green, no. He's kind of like I said, an earthy color. It's not necessarily green or gray, TNJ says, I guess he means lack of color. But I just showed you it's an immense amount of color. You get what I'm saying? You can't say lack of color because that's not lacking color. You see? But because we always, men don't seem to see all the variety of color. But if you go and pay attention to what I just showed you, there's a lot of color there. Goldfield says they just have lack of color. Yeah, no, they don't lack color. Goldfield says, I understand. They're not gray, but just lack color. No, they don't lack color. Perhaps it's to contrast the hero's colors. No, neither. It doesn't work that way because Batman wears black. So it doesn't contrast anything. Or sometimes Batman wears blue. So it doesn't contrast the Batman either. Go Films. I just base it off my memory. I always imagine Steppenwolf as silver to me. It's close to gray. He's not silver either. Go Films. I messed up with Ronan, lol. Go Films. I understand, bro. W. Mir says, sorry to break the subject, but well, Venom to me looks like the best Marvel film. Oh my God. I don't want to tell you guys my view on Venom, but I hate Venom. What I saw in the trailers just sucked. Like I have zero interest in Venom. I know this sounds terrible to some of you because you're Venom fans, but Tom Hardy just does not sell me as Venom to start with. I know it's an aberration. It's a sort of mutation. I know it's a serum or something that you get given, but at the end of the day, I am just not impressed with Venom. Nothing about that Venom movie interests me at all. Okay, I have zero interest in Venom. I am interested in New Mutants, but it looks like New Mutants won't come out anymore next year because Disney has purchased it. And I'm interested in Glass. That's it. I'm not really interested in any other films. W. Mir says, this year, 2008, that is. TNJ says, yeah, Venom looks sick. I agree with you. It looks sickly, and I don't want to see it. W. Mir says, can't wait to see it, and Riot is going to be the villain. You read Lethal Protector series in the 90s, TNJ. Go Films. I'm not interested in Venom. There you go. Me neither, my friend. Go Films either. W. Mir says, well, to each his own. Yeah, exactly. Maybe the movie is very good, and then maybe I may change my mind. I got to change Black Panther. But as of the moment, that Venom film looks like crap to me. That's just my opinion. Maybe you guys followed Venom comics a lot, but how do I put this to you guys? Godzilla looks more interesting to me than Venom. And that's just the way I feel about it. Don't want to see Venom at all. Not really interested. With me, it's about which future DCEU villains do you want to see? Me? DCEU villains? I don't know. I'd like to see Brainiac sometime in the future. I like that character. I would love to see Metallo. I would love to see. I mean, there's many villains, man. There's many villains, and some of them are obscure ones. Of course, I want to see Darkseid, Parasite. There you go. I mean, you named them. I would want to see them. Grundy. I mean, I would love to see Deadshot again. I would love to see what's his name? Deathstroke. Penguin. Catwoman. I love to see Catwoman. I know she's a villain, but sometimes she's not. You name it. I mean, there's lots of DC villains. There's lots of DC villains. There's the Riddler, like you said. Which one that we haven't heard about much for a while? Let me see if I can pick one that you guys haven't heard much about. That's a DC villain, an interesting DC villain. Face or Hush. Be an interesting villain. An interesting and worthy villain. A DCEU villain. It would be something like I don't know. There's a lot of them. Like there's tons of villains. There's a lot of them. I can't just pick one. I would want to see Darkseid. That's the one I would really want to see, and I'm pretty sure we would see him in the Snyder cut. We'd actually get a view of him. So that's the villain I really want to see in the not too distant future. That's the villain I want to see. Darkseid. You know? And you know, it would have been a nice intro to New Gods, because our director right now is doing New Gods. I just don't get where Warner Bros. Is going with this, man. I just don't understand why they do that. But I want to see Black Adam. I want to see Black Adam in the not too distant future. That's some of the villains I want to see. Who else would I want to see? They did Two-Face already, at least 2 times, right? Or 3 times? No, 2 times. 2 times. Mongol. I want to see Mongol. I want to see Bizarro. It'd be nice if they bring back Bane, Scarecrow, Gorilla Grodd. Well, we are going to see Desaad at some point. We already saw Amanda Waller. We're going to see Ocean Master, or at least see him become an Ocean Master. Lobo. I'd love to see old Lobo. Hugo Strange. We're going to see Dr. Sivana. Owlman. To see them that face the God damn it, Superwoman, Owlman, and Ultraman. Heat Wave, for those of you who know it. Cirque. That'd be cool to see Cirque. Court of Owls. I don't know how many of you guys know about the Pied Piper, King Shark, Black Mask, Giganta. Love to see Giganta. That would be cool in a Wonder Woman movie. That would be awesome. Toyman. Who else would? Villains, huh? Ozymandias, who's from Watchmen. That would be cool. Even Dr. Manhattan as a villain would be awesome. So, you know, all of that would be cool. Ra's al Ghul to make up what he got in Batman Begins would be a bad Ra's al Ghul. Clayface or Hush. The Rogues. Yeah, the Flash villains. Counting first sound like Jack Archie's Boomerang to be there. Gorilla Grodd would be amazing. Gorilla Grodd was hinted in Justice League. Man Bat would be cool, yeah. Giganta, yeah, I would love to see Giganta in a Wonder Woman movie. That would be cool. Um, there's a ton of villains, man. There's a lot of villains. So it would be a hell of a lot of fun to see that happen. So I'd be down for that. Well, guys, I just wanted to share that with you guys. We keeping the release the Snyder cut going. We're pushing harder and harder as time goes along. I just wanted to share with you guys why I think that there were some differences in Justice League. I just, you know, I wish that Warner Bros. Would catch themselves and somebody would knock some sense into their heads before everything goes south and we don't even see these movies because people have just kind of protested against Warner Brothers and then just abandoned their movies and just said, you know what, screw y'all, and abandoned the movies. I don't want that to happen, but it's happening. It's happening already, and it's taking up momentum. And it just, I mean, this is so early in the game. And James Wan, you know, that the people who are really going to suffer are the guys like James Wan, Patty Jenkins, David Sandberg. They are good directors. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know, man. They just, Warner Brothers, these executives, they don't know about comic book movies. They don't care about comic book movies. And they're just running the thing down into the ground. They're running the franchise down into the ground. And somebody just needs to fire all their asses and get somebody who actually, you know, actually does comic book movies and cares about comic book movies to actually lead the campaign. Say what you want about Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige actually knows about comic book movies. You know what I mean? So that at least when he's leading, even though it's a corporate kind of thing, at least he's moving in the direction of comic book movies. These guys don't know nothing about comic book movies, you know? And they got Jeff Johns gonna run the shit down to the ground. You know what I mean? And they don't realize that Jeff Johns doesn't have a successful track history of doing of leading from the front. So why you even want him there? You know, I don't get it, man. I just don't get it. And so, you know, at DCEU without Zack Snyder somewhere in there helping people and directing people just won't work. Do you like Batman Returns? Go Films asks me. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. I think that is it's better than Batman 1989. So in terms of standalone Batman movies, I think Batman Returns is the best standalone Batman movie to date. It's better than Batman 1989. It's better than anything that Christopher Nolan has put forward. And obviously it's better than the Schumacher films. It's better than Batman 1968. I think it was in 1969. I can't remember which one it was. It was just this wacky comedy. And I think it's even better than a lot of the animated Batman films, but there are a lot of exceptions to that rule. That if you've really watched a lot of Batman animated films, there's some that really are good. You know, and others, they hold back too much. And what I liked about Batman Returns is they didn't hold back. Like Batman, with the, you remember the lady who was supposed to adorn the Christmas tree and she fell off the building and died? She just fell straight through the tree and died. I love the graphic violence in that. They did not hold back on it. And the Penguin, yeah, the Penguin, I mean, Danny DeVito did an excellent job with the Penguin. He was a little bit more deranged than our typical Penguin, but, you know, he had a vendetta that he was really wanting to carry out, and that he got distracted for a minute. But yeah, it was fantastic. And Michelle Pfeiffer is the best Catwoman in live action I've ever seen. She did an excellent job as Catwoman, and I like that. You know, it was in an era where you weren't politically correct, so she could get away with certain things. And just loved it. I loved it. I loved it. That was an era. People talk about, you know, how that was Tim Burton's most wacky movie, and they tried to bad talk it and badmouth it. And that's why Tim Burton eventually, Warner Brothers didn't. Again, Warner Brothers listening to the wrong set of people. And they go and they just drop Tim Burton from the Catwoman project, drop Tim Burton from the Batman project. And then when Tim Burton proposed the Superman project, where Superman lives, they dropped that project too. It's the stupidest move they made by taking Tim Burton out of the. And I listened to one of the guys, who's a big diehard DC fan, talk about how Tim Burton hurt the Batman franchise and stuff. You got to be a jackass to say that, because of Tim Burton's Batman, we have the kind of Batman we have today. And Zack Snyder basically built off of the Tim Burton model. And Tim Burton's a visionary. Even the Superman that Zack Snyder has now was built off of the Tim Burton model. So for those people who don't know, Tim Burton really was going to revolutionize stuff. And it is what it is, And people just don't respect Tim Burton for what he did. And it's okay. I mean, Warner Brothers kind of muddied the water on the guy, and he went on to do other projects and did very well with those projects. So it is what it is. He did Edward Scissorhands. He did a whole bunch of other movies. So Tim Burton's pretty good. But Tim Burton had a bitter taste in his mouth about Superman Lives. He really was pouring his heart and soul into that, and he just yanked it out from under him. And that's the thing that Warner Brothers sometimes does to directors. And then the person they replaced was Joel Schumacher. And Joel Schumacher has done, I'm not going to lie to you, he's done some pretty good movies and some pretty good serious movies. But he endeavored to now take on the project of having this kind of funny sort of Adam West Batman. And he started off the back with Batman Forever. He started to push that Batman forward, Marvelize the Batman, in other words. Because Marvel basically borrows off of the Richard Donner model of Superman 1978, and also, the Adam West model of, Batman and Robin. And so he tried to do that, and the lashback was just tremendous. That thing was dead before it even started. You know what I'm saying? Batman Forever did a little bit better than Batman Returns. And then when he tried to, push, really do what Warner Bros. Really wanted, was to try and gear up for toys and stuff. I mean, Batman and Robin flopped like nobody's business. I mean, it was a major flop. And then the follow-up that Warner Bros. Had with Catwoman, you see, when you think it's so easy because this director got the things off the ground. Tim Burton got them off the ground with Batman. Tim Burton reinvented Batman, and he got them off the ground. Christopher Nolan came after Batman and Robin, and he was able to resurrect Batman, right? And he took the serious tone, and he really got Batman off the ground. Zack Snyder took that further, not just with Superman, but he also took it with Batman, and he got Batman to a level to which people said this is the best iteration. Ben Affleck showed up in Batman v Superman, and Ben Affleck killed it with Batman. I mean, he killed it with Batman. In fact, people will say this is that's the best action sequence of Batman we've ever seen, live action sequence. And Ben Affleck killed it when it came to Bruce Wayne. And then this is a unique depiction of Bruce Wayne. He's older and so on. And so even imagine Ben Affleck enlisted Kevin Conroy, Mr. Batman himself, gave the nod to Ben Affleck on his Batman. Then the guy who has been saying that even Tim Burton's movie and representation of Batman, Christopher Nolan's, was shit, and he doesn't like it. The man who did The Dark Knight Returns, okay? What's his name? The British guy. His novels. He says, Frank Miller finally says Ben Affleck is giving a better depiction of Batman. The best thing about Batman v Superman is Batman. When you hear a guy who never compliments Batman say that Ben Affleck really came on with Batman, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Even in Justice League, Ben Affleck pulls off another evolution of Batman. And even though we saw the diluted down version and not really the full meaty version that Zack Snyder had, the performance that Ben Affleck put out with Batman time and time again was fantastic. He showed range. He showed depth. He showed that Batman was evolving. It's just fantastic what Ben Affleck has done with Batman. And again, that is my best Batman to date. I really hope Matt Reeves gets his film off the ground. The way how Warner Brothers is moving right now, I don't even know if Matt Reeves will get the film off the ground, or if they will fire him from the project and put up and trying to get Adam West's 1968 Batman back on the scene. You know, Warner Brothers is so messed up And these executives are so stupid that I don't pass it by them. I really don't. Because they're just anti anything gritty, anything serious, anything that really will substantive, and anything adult. Once we say adult themes and adult stuff, all of a sudden Warner Bros. Is like, no, 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 no. We need to deal with the kiddies. The stupidest idea ever. Because when you have more mature themes and little children come to see it, little children are going to watch the films anyway. But even if they're violent or whatever, you can discuss it with your kids. I was on Twitter, and there were so many people who responded to the fact that these much more meaningful, impactful films you can discuss with your children and your family afterwards. You can actually have family get together instead of people being back on their cell phones and stuff after having an entertaining film and not really interacting with one another, just laughing a couple times, and then they leave the cinema and they're not talking to one another about the films anymore. These are films that allow people to discuss from the 3-year-olds all the way up to the 90-year-olds. You can have a family discussion on these films because they have substance within them. And what's important is, okay, some of the films are too graphic for little children, okay? But Man of Steel wasn't. Wonder Woman wasn't. Well, it's graphic. Wonder Woman was graphic, but again, you know, Batman v Superman, I believe Batman v Superman can be seen by kids again, because Zack Snyder is basically anti-violence. He tries to show you the consequences of violence. He also tries to show you why he has a distaste for violence. He can do the artistic part of violence, but he has a distaste for it. And you have to understand, like, even when you look at the opening sequence of Batman v Superman with Batman and his family and how his mother died, it's very poetic. It's very beautiful to watch, but you can feel the tragedy and the weight that was placed on Bruce. And you can understand why Bruce ran away when they were going towards the tomb. He did not want to see his parents at the time. And so it's Zack Snyder showing that the consequences of violence is devastating to people. And so Batman v Superman is not a violence advocating film. It is contraire. It is the film which actually is not advocating violence. If you look at the Batman warehouse scene that people are so disturbed about, which that's the whole point behind Zack Snyder shooting it that way, the Batman warehouse scene is not just action for action's sake. As much as we get, you know, jazzed about it, when you really look at that scene, Batman was determined to get to Martha so that no violence would happen to her, and he was just trying to plow through the criminals that were there. And even then, some of the stuff that we saw was so disturbing, not only disturbing in terms of what was done to Batman, but also disturbing how Batman was behaving, that a lot of us can have discussions on that scene. And you can have a family discussion on that scene and actually see that, you know, when you watch that whole entire scene, how Batman, how he cradles Martha. And after that, you know, what does he say? What does she say? She says something. He says something to her. And then he says, I'm a friend of your son's. And she says the cape, which is funny. But the point is, he cradles her. This was his moment to protect Martha. And this guy was not going to let anything. I'm becoming General Zod here, if you guys didn't realize. I'm quoting General Zod. He doesn't let anyone or anything get in his way because he has something in common with General Zod, you know. And so you have to understand that's what you saw on the screen, and it was portrayed wonderfully. And yet at the same time, it's disturbing how Batman, when he's going that hard, how he literally can kill someone, crush their skull. You know, he's really taking it to them. And when you see him take it to them, that's not necessarily the that's not necessarily the Batman. That's a little more extreme than Batman usually is. All right, so I mean, literally gunning down criminals and blowing up their cars and blowing them up. He's still pretty intense, even after his altercation with Superman. But he tones down in Justice League. He tones down. He becomes more normalized. And so what you saw in Justice League is more the Batman you know from Justice League. If you look at Justice League animated cartoon stuff like that, he's more of a detective. He's more of a strategist. He's still controversial in how he deals with criminals, but he's much more toned down, which is expected because Superman had an impact on him. So my point is that in BVS we saw this, very enraged Batman. Okay. And that was the point Zack Snyder was trying to say. And Ben Affleck kept on telling people he's on the edge of bankruptcy, and he's rageful, and he's got fears, and he's really churning on the inside. And Ben Affleck was like, and he's kind of screwed up in his head. And Ben Affleck was like, yes, that's my film, because Ben Affleck at that point in time in his career was kind of in that kind of difficulty. He is having all these problems. So Ben Affleck could identify with aspects of Batman. He was like, yes, I can do that, Batman. Because Ben Affleck was like, I can't do the younger Batman. That just make no sense. I mean, I just don't see it. I can't see myself being that. WB says, it's not hard to do, honestly. Why is WB trying to appeal to the MCU audience? What the fuck? That is so dumb. Pander to DC fans, not Marvel fans. Jeesh. It's not hard to do, honestly. That's what I thought, too. I thought so. I mean, it's logic. You deal with your fan base first, and then you try to expand outwards. Apparently not. Gold Films, low. Batman crushed the guy's balls. Exactly. That's a little extreme for Batman. Batman generally... Batman. It's funny to me in a way. You guys see my sense of humor, right? It's a little warped, but it's a little bit dark too. But it's funny to me. It's hilarious when the guy goes, oh gosh. And he plows through the wall, man. Strangles the guy and takes his gun away from him. It's hilarious. Oh my god. That's an extreme Batman, okay? But it works. It works. They built up to that point. So, when you heard the music going like a kettle about to boil, you knew Batman was coming through. He was determined to save Martha, man. And it's the way how he did it. He walked up to the guy flaming and then just crushed his balls. It's so funny, man. And again, Ben Affleck is a huge guy. So and the guy who was his stunt double is a huge guy, and you could see it. You could see how powerful he was. How he just grabbed that guy and just slammed him into the ground. He just slammed the guy into the ground and started pummeling his head. Now, that wasn't necessary, right? There's a rage in him. It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy. But to be honest with you, man, to be honest with you, that's a Batman I'm afraid of. If I ever come across that Batman, I'm running for my life. I'm not sticking around. I don't care that I didn't do a crime. I'll be peeing myself too and shitting myself as I go. W. Mir says, yo, guys, it's a bit late. Great live all around. Good night, my fellow DC fans. Never stop fighting for the Snyder Cut. Peace. Same here, man. Have a good night, man. Have a good night. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say that. So, but you could, again, I don't think Zack Snyder was really enjoying, like I said before, those moments. I think that what they were trying to do was get really was Bruce angst to get to save Martha Kent. Okay, for him it was Martha Wayne, but Martha Kent. And you definitely saw how, even when he was saying "I believe you," you could see his lip was trembling. He was like so determined to save Martha. It was ridiculous, you know. And he just, I mean, he was one track mind on that thing, man. And when he saved her, you know, he was happy. He was like glad. You could see he was at peace. And it was pretty crazy. It was pretty much a trip right there, watching him just kind of. You could see the peace in him as he saved her. And once again, as much as I mean, the violence in that in that whole thing was incredible. In terms of this one guy takes out 20 something guys, and this one guy doesn't have a weapon. He doesn't have a gun, at least. He doesn't have weapons like these guys. These guys have high powered weapons. And one guy, I mean, he's got a bulletproof suit, you know, and you know he's got a. But he's. How can you have a grappling hook? Okay, you have just a grappling hook and batarangs, and you take out 20 something people. Well, they made it believable. I give you that. They made it very, very believable. I mean, when he kicked the guy into the other guy, and the other guy knocked out his grenade from his hands, he took off like a bullet. He took off like a bullet. He's like gone. The explosion happens behind him. He's so gone from that scene, you know. And it's just you watch that action sequence, and he was very, very determined to just, you know, to save Martha. He was very determined to save Martha. That was something he was like, Martha's not going to die tonight. He took that really seriously, and he ensured that Martha didn't die that night, you know. Everybody else did. But she didn't, right? Because the whole place exploded, right? So a bunch of people died there. But at the end of the day, she didn't die. So it's just very interesting that, you know, when you think about these movies, as entertaining as they may seem, there's this deep-seated, deep-rooted theme inside of them. And that's what I like about those movies. And that's what I'm hoping the DCEU will be going forward. I know they're different directors with different styles and everything, and I respect that. What I don't respect is a studio trying to force people to go in a particular direction. That's what I don't respect. And especially when the studio has no idea about the material, the comic book movies itself, and also the the understand what the audience wants, what the fan base wants. When they have no clue about what the fan base wants, and they don't even know anything about comic books, because these are comic book movies, and that's what Warner Brothers doesn't get. These are comic book movies, and so they've had a massive failure with Justice League in because it didn't even take off. It did. It did a little bit. And if they want to blame Zack Snyder for that, then they're in for a rude awakening with Aquaman, because they have pretty much not understood. And the media has been trying to egg them on in the wrong direction, and they don't understand that. And the lashback on Aquaman is going to show them that, and then they will have nothing left. All their plans about the future movies will have to be scrapped, because they are moving in a direction that is not going to work. It's not going to work. Goldfield says that's Bruce Wayne's motive for being Batman, to make sure no one dies the same way his mother did. So he tried his hardest to save Clark's mother. Absolutely. And then, you know, it's redemption for him. It's his chance to save his mother. So he really had a close affinity to Martha, so he could be redeemed. Because all his nightmares were about his mother. Everything was about his mother. Like, it's amazing, really. So yeah, and I keep on sending this message over and over and over. And Warner Bros. Is going to find themselves in hotter and hotter water. Some things Warner Bros. Needs to calculate correctly, and they're not making the wisest decisions. I can give you that. And it's sad. Go Film says, is it possible we get future DC movies even if the DCEU falls? Well, they're trying to have that as a backup plan. So they have this Joker movie coming out. But see, here's the thing, Go Films. If we can't even trust Warner Brothers, why would we want to watch any of their future DC films? You see, the issue is trust. It's not about whether you have a universe there or not. It's about trust. So whether they go with a single film, whether they go with the DCEU, whether they allow the DCEU to fall or not, whether it's a DC TV that they're trying to promote and their streaming service, they have to understand none of that will work if the people who had bought into your universe, the people who bought into your brand, don't trust you anymore. And they're doing an excellent job of having the fans lose trust in them. They're doing a great job of that. You know, they're destroying their own universe and they're destroying their own brand by simply not listening to the people they should listen to first. So that's the issue. And either they're out of touch with what people are telling them, or they are hard-headed and they decided, well, this is the direction we want to go. And they've done this time and time again. And every single time they've done it, they've failed at it. So I don't know why they think this particular occasion they will succeed. It doesn't work like that. All right? Before there was the DCEU, they failed. They failed with Green Lantern because they came out with a product that they thought the fans would like. And the fans did not like Green Lantern. They came out with Superman Returns. And they thought they had a product that the fans would like. And the fans resented it. They came out with Batman and Robin because they thought they had success over Batman Forever. And they were trying to point out, it's better. Look at the box office compared to Batman Returns. It's a better box office. Justifying the change in director. And the very next film, Batman and Robin, flopped, showing what the fans really felt about these films. And so, because they were saying it doesn't matter who wears the mask. And everybody knows Michael Keaton is the best Batman ever, besides Ben Affleck. And the reason Michael Keaton is still esteemed as so highly is because of Tim Burton. So they've never really quite... Yes, you're right. The only reason Dark Knight trilogy succeeded was because of Nolan. Exactly. And they don't value their directors like that. Now, Nolan didn't want to do another comic book movie trilogy because here's the thing. A lot of the people who liked Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy were Marvel fans, actually. The DC fans, most of those who grew up on comic books, don't really particularly like his trilogy because they feel it swayed so far away from the DC mythology and the DC iconography. So a lot of the DC fans, especially the DC fans that like the DCEU, a lot of them don't like Christopher Nolan's depiction of the Dark Knight trilogy. I am one of them that's not particularly fond of it. Okay? And it's because, again, that's not, to me, what he brought forward was not Batman. Now, I respect what he did. I like his story and how he added to the Batman archives, even though it's more Elseworld than anything else. And I respect him for it. It was his take. I don't particularly like it, but it was his take. And I'm cool with that. The difference between me and other people is other people have outrage and they would try and say, oh, he's a crappy director. And I know Nolan's not a crappy director. And he chose to depict Batman in a setting where he says, what if Batman actually existed in our world, not as the mythological comic book hero that we see, but actually as a real person. So that there was a real person who just happened to be called Batman. So that's where Nolan assumed the whole thing and came with it. And so I respect him for that. He didn't say, I am making Batman. He said, what if? His premise was, what if Batman existed in the world today? Someone actually decided to be Batman in our world. That was his notion. And that, therefore, I can never bang him on it. But when people take his movies and say that the gospel truth and Batman doesn't kill and Batman this and Batman that, as if it is canon, that's where I have a problem. And so these people come around and say, you know, The Dark Knight was the greatest comic book movie ever of all time. And I said, hell no, it's not. It can never be. You know why? And they would look at me like, because it's not really a comic book movie. It is an assumption that we have a comic book movie character in the real world. It's not really a comic book movie. Now, Zack Snyder, on the other hand, when he did Superman, or Man of Steel, as you call it, literally took Superman, the character that you see in the comics, not the Superman from 1978, not the Superman from those Superman films that came before, not the Superman from the television series per se, aspects of those Supermen, but literally the Superman from the comics, literally, okay? He took that Superman and he brought him to our world. It's different. Zack Snyder's approach is different. David Goya's approach is different to what, because Superman's a superpowered being, whereas Batman was not, it affords, you have to, and Superman's not even a human, you have to stay with the comics. Now Batman has a lot more leeway because, and Nolan said that there are many depictions of Batman character, and there's a lot of leeway because Batman is a human, one, and two, depending on your approach to Batman, you can sort of really play around with his mythology. You can really mess around with it. And since his premise, which is a very clever one, I must say, but Nolan's premise was that this is, can someone exist in our world sort of as the Batman? You see? And that's where he's coming from. That's why he could change a whole bunch of things. He had a lot of leeway there because his premise is what allows him to do that. And so Nolan's not trying to get Batman from the comics into a real world. What he's trying to do is say, what if someone in our real world started behaving like the Batman? That's what you're seeing. And I thought that was brilliant. So you can't knock Nolan for what he did because it's not a comic book movie, but there is this sort of mythology of a comic book character now brought to realism and demythified. So it's the myth is taken out of it, and this is what it would actually look like. That's his premise, right? So you got all that leeway with Batman that he had, you see, to make it as realistic as possible, even though some of the things are not realistic. But so he was able to just sort of completely redefine Batman however he wanted to, and he had all this leeway to be creative as much as he wanted to, however he wanted to with the character, because he did not want to make a comic book movie. It's kind of like with the Incredible Hulk, the TV series of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. They sort of moved away from what the Incredible Hulk was to some degree, and they even reinvented the name David Banner instead of Bruce. And they sort of reinvented the character so that they could have their own spin on what they thought the Incredible Hulk could be. All right? It wasn't going true to the comics. So it's something like that. That's the kind of approach. Man of Steel is Superman in a nutshell. Such a good movie. I absolutely agree with you in that. And the reason why Man of Steel is Superman is because it literally is rooted in John Byrne's comics and a number of different comics. But John Byrne's comics particularly, there are little bits and pieces of All-Star Superman, Superman's Secret Origins, etc., 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 right? So there are various comics that make up this Man of Steel. But the brilliance behind it is that instead of calling the movie Superman, which they did not do, which was smart, and also that falls in line with the Batman trilogies, where you have, unfortunately, Christopher Nolan started the trilogy with Batman Begins. He shouldn't have done that. The other two are smart because The Dark Knight and then The Dark Knight Rises are two very cleverly written pieces, because when you say The Dark Knight, now you can say, okay, now it's not necessarily Batman we're dealing with, but an Elseworld Batman. So that's what the Dark Knight kind of implies, because now you're going down the line again. But I keep on blanking out about this guy's name, but the guy who did the Dark Knight Returns, right? And so you could go down that road, sort of like, and then you can come back here, and then you could say, okay, the Dark Knight Rises now. Okay. So that's the cleverness of it. I like how BVS seems to roll off the previous Dark Knight movies. From the back cave scene, the car chase scene, even Bruce mentions to Alfred about criminals being a dirty bomb, bringing a dirty bomb into Gotham. Okay. I think that's more for the Tim Burton Tim Burton movies, because again, you had the cave, the car chase scenes are the same thing. In fact, the car chase scenes, if you go and compare, even though they were mostly on a stage, if you look at the car chase scenes with Tim Burton, and even the design of the Batmobile is a combination of Burton and what's his name? Nolan. It's Burton and Nolan combined. So they borrowed bits and pieces from Nolan's films and bits and pieces from Burton's films. So there is a link between the two. Yes. Goldfield says, I admit, though, I like the Batman Begins Batsuit. Okay. I'm not a fan of any of this. I just am not a fan of any of the Batsuits that Nolan has done. I'm sorry. Nolan's a fantastic director, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't a fan of any of them, and I think it's mainly because of how the actor Christian Bale, how Christian Bale carried himself in the suits. To me, he looked funky in the suit. Let me put it that way. He looked funny in the suit. How he moved and how he even dove off of things was hilarious to me. So it was funny. So I think I guess how he carried himself in the suit that made it funny. Even the themes about fear in Justice League. TJ is as if Snyder knew the Dark Knight trilogy was still on audiences' minds. No, actually, the themes of fear in Justice League and BVS are basically what the Batman is. Again, go watch a Tim Burton movie. Go watch Batman 1989, the rooftop scene. You'll see how very similar, that is to what you saw in Justice League. So it's not necessarily isolated to Christopher Nolan or any one of these guys. You have to understand that Batman, go read the Golden Comics. In fact, read the very first issue in Detective Comics of Batman, and you will see what his background and his history is. And his thing of dressing up in a bat was to bring fear into the heart of criminals. So that can either be verbalized or it can be seen. And that's what Batman's all about. The difference between what you saw with Zack Snyder and what you saw with, say, for instance, Tim Burton or even Christopher Nolan is that Christopher Nolan's Batman tried too hard to be to be scary. He was not scary, okay? Fear me! This is just terrible. And then Tim Burton's Batman, Michael Keaton, did a fantastic job. The criminal was afraid of him. He's like, who are you? I'm Batman. Tell your friends about me. So the I am Batman thing started with Tim Burton, if you didn't know. And then he doesn't drop the guy off the building. So, and so that's how that went down. Now, Tim Burton's Batman was fine. And in 1989, when I saw it, it blew me away. Okay. But Ben Affleck's Batman definitely makes you feel afraid. Literally how he was introduced in Batman v Superman. scared the bejesus out of the cup that was about to shoot him, and also scared all of us. Okay, the way how the music was played and everything. And for the first time ever in live action, we got to see and get the creeps in what Batman feels like to criminals. Criminals fear the Batman. In fact, in Suicide Squad, we kind of got to see what Batman feels like with the criminals as well, even though David Ayer still didn't get the opportunity to fully really show what he really meant, what Batman meant to the criminals. We didn't really get to fully see that on display, unfortunately. But it is what it is. But yes, Batman is scary, and I think Zack Snyder succeeded at doing that. You know, if you are a criminal, you know you were dead, like you are screwed over if Batman's coming after you. You knew that. And so, you know, but that's a common motif with Batman. Batman is all about scaring criminals. He wants to scare you. It's not, he doesn't want to kill you more than he wants to scare you and deter you from committing crime, or put you behind bars so you will never commit crime again, or put you in a psych place or whatever. But make sure that you never do crime again. That's his thing. It's not killing you like the Punisher. The Punisher will kill you. The Punisher is all about killing. Batman is not about killing. He is about making sure that crime, some heinous crimes, do not happen. That's his thing. His prevention. Okay. Batman Begins felt a little corny and reminded me a bit of Michael Keaton's style. Didn't grow up in the era when that Batman revolutionized everything, because Batman before that was campy. You want to talk about cheesy? Go watch the Adam West Batman. He's cheesy as hell. It's like Sesame Street on Batwatch, and everything was holy Batman, Batman smoking Batman. That was what Robin would say. But Batman doesn't talk much, to be honest with you. Batman doesn't say much. Batman generally is a one-liner kind of guy, so it's not really strange to see Batman not saying much. Okay, the Batman. Now, Bruce Wayne may talk more than Batman, but Batman, gee Willie Dinkers, Batman. Okay, Robin. Now, Robin, you have to obey the lights before you cross the street. The light says red. We have to stop, Robin. Like, just come on. My gosh. Adam West Batman. Anyway. So, yeah. Lol, in Dark Knight Rises, a cop shoots at Batman. He looks at the cop and the cop says, sorry. And BBS, the cop shoots him and the cop feels more scared and Batman taunts him a bit. Yep. Yep. Yeah, Batman is something else, man. So, yeah. I mean, that's basically it I have to say this afternoon, though, or tonight. It's 2:34 a.m. in the morning. I'm still having some gas problems. Gas is coming up again. It's kind of harassed me a little bit, so I have to go and drink some more water before I go to sleep. But it was nice talking to you guys while I was kind of dealing with my stomach problems. I hope you guys have a great night. Do get some sleep. We need more of the Batman we got in the warehouse scene. I don't think you'll get that Batman, but you will get a serious Batman. You'll get a much more serious Batman in the Snyder cut. But you probably won't get that kind of Batman. Also, you probably won't get that kind of Batman in the Batman Matt Reeves in the Matt Reeves Batman film. But what you may find is you get, of course, he can fight. Don't get me wrong. You'll get some action scenes and all of that, but I don't think you get the kind of brutality that you got in BVS. But what I think you will get is a Batman that will, you know, when he's coming after you, he's going to come after you. You know, that's just what'll happen. I would love to see him in the same film with a really worthy opponent. Will I stream tomorrow? Yeah, definitely. I'll be streaming tomorrow. So don't worry. I'll be out here streaming. I'll try and get some stuff prepared for you guys for tomorrow. And we'll talk a little bit more. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a good night. I mean, I don't want to keep you guys. Some of you it's 2 o'clock in the day. I don't want to keep you guys any longer. So have a good one again, and God bless.